This is what most car guys would probably consider to be a Lotus Esprit. But maybe there's something a bit strange with it. Could it perhaps be an early prototype of an Esprit? No guys, absolutely wrong.
This is Cube, of course. I am Mike, and today I want to show you a sports car that you have surely never heard of before. This is the story of the Heron Sport MJ1, a Kiwi-built sports car. Yes, that's not a mistake. This car was really built in New Zealand.
Like the Lotus Esprit, the Heron is a mid-engine sports car with a fiberglass body. But unlike the Esprit, which has a steel backbone chassis under the fiberglass body, the Heron didn't have any steel chassis. Instead, the Heron had a complete fiberglass monocoque chassis and body with a stainless steel mesh bonded into the fiberglass in some areas for extra strength. That was a Heron developed patent, so the Heron was definitely not at all just a kit car on a Volkswagen floor pan. But let's start at the beginning and then compare it in detail to the Lotus Esprit and some other sports cars of its time which could have been competitors. The man behind the Heron was Ross Baker, who has a long history back to the early 60s of building and driving race cars in New Zealand. His dream has always been to design and manufacture his own road-going sports car. The name Heron MJ1 derives from the Heron aircraft and the bird heron, which is native in New Zealand. MJ were the initials of Ross Baker's daughter Morley Jane, and 1 stood for the first model. In 1979, Ross started with the first drawings, which were obviously influenced by Giugiaro's Lotus Esprit. Very funny side note, in 1972 Giugiaro, here on the left side of the original concept car, wanted to call it Kiwi, no joke, but Colin Chapman, the owner of Lotus, here at the right side, didn't like the name and came up with the name Esprit, which follows the traditional Lotus system of using names starting with the letter E. Back to the Heron and Ross Baker. It then took him 4 years until 1983 to finish the first prototype. Though the silhouette was very similar to the Esprit, I wouldn't call the design a complete knockoff, as both the front and the rear of the car look very different. Instead of the Esprit's double round pop-ups, the Heron has double square fixed units, which look really quite cool, aggressive and also unique in my eyes. The rear of the Heron features some little bit odd looking square taillights with massive square orange indicators. They look a bit like borrowed from a 70s bus or truck. From this angle, the Lotus Esprit looks surely more refined. Later Herons have more appealing taillights, which I clearly prefer. Although the Heron has a similar shape compared to a Lotus Esprit, it's considerably smaller. The Heron is just 4 meters long, 21 centimeters shorter than an Esprit S3. Wheelbase is 2.28 meters, 16 centimeters shorter than the Esprit. With 1.68 meters, it's also 18 centimeters narrower than an Esprit, and most astonishingly, the Heron is also considerably lower than the Esprit. To be precise, it's just 1.04 meters high, 7 centimeters lower than the already very low Esprit. It's a bit like an Esprit with a chopped roof, as the windows are very, very low. The big upside of the Heron is a weight of only about 700 kilo. That's of course a considerable saving compared to the 1067 kilo of an Esprit S3. This incredibly low weight results in a nearly identical power to weight ratio of both cars despite the Heron's less powerful engine. So let's talk about the engine of the Heron. The first Herons featured a 1.6 liter twin-cam 4-cylinder Fiat engine with 90 horsepower from the Fiat 125. For the production cars, this engine was soon replaced by a 115 horsepower twin-cam engine with twin Weber carburetors from the Fiat 132. This Fiat engine was mated with a Skoda 4-speed gearbox, which was soon upgraded to an in-house developed 5-speed version of the same gearbox. For the suspension, steering and brakes, Heron also used Skoda components borrowed from the S110. Alloy wheels, 13-inch at the front and 14-inch at the rear, were sourced from BBS, and the instruments were taken from a Holden Camira. This said, the Lotus Esprit S3 with its 160 horsepower 2.2 liter engine was of course in a different league, also in terms of price, and not a direct competitor of the Heron. Real competitors of the Heron would have been the similarly mid-engined and same powerful Toyota MR2, or on the European market the Matra Morena, which also featured a 114 horsepower mid-engine in a fiberglass body. The Australian magazine Sports Car World tested a Heron MJ1 with favorable comments for its punchy performance, as they call it. Although the Heron doesn't offer much headroom for taller drivers, they describe the seats as comfortable and supportive and well adjustable. The magazine testers were also surprised that the Heron showed little to none squeaks or rattles or tendencies to flex. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any performance figures. My guess would be less than 9 seconds for 0 to 60 miles per hour or 100 kilometers per hour, and something between 190 and 200 kilometers per hour top speed. If anyone has precise info on performance, please share in the comments below. So what happened to the Heron project? In 1983, Ross presented the prototype and 2 further cars at the Auckland Motor Show. The Heron was very well received by the public. 30 prospective buyers put down a $1,000 deposit on the car, which was advertised for 14,900 New Zealand dollars. Ross' idea was an option for buyers to provide their own second-hand Fiat engine to keep costs down. This engine would then be installed by Heron. So the idea was not a kit car being built by the customer, but a real car completely built by the factory with an engine being provided by the customer. That's a very interesting approach by Ross Baker to avoid possible warranty claims on the engine. Ross needed a partner for the production and was approached by Summit Engineering, a local company, which finally bought 2/3 of the shares and set up a manufacturing plant, Summit Auto Manufacturing, in Rotorua, New Zealand. Against Baker's advice, Summit replaced the original 1.6 liter engine by the already mentioned bigger 2 liter engine, and changed Baker's original concept of using customer-provided engines to now buying new Fiat engines themselves and only using new parts. Here's where the problem started, because production costs went up dramatically. Despite selling the first production cars for 18,500 New Zealand dollars, $3,600 more than originally advertised, Summit still lost $5,000 with each car. After a recalculation, the retail price was raised to 27,500 New Zealand dollar, a level which priced the Heron far out of the market. For 30% less, people could get a Mazda RX7 or the new mid-engine Toyota MR2. Though the Heron could score with its design and rarity, build quality and usability of a mass production Toyota was, of course, impossible to match. That wasn't be going well long time for Heron sales. Finally, only 25 Heron Sport MJ1 were built, the last one in July 1985, just 2 years after its debut. Production was never profitable and thus Summit Auto Manufacturing went into receivership. This makes the Heron one of the rarest sports cars on the classic car market today. It's difficult to assess the current market value as there is no data available. I just found one sales ad from a few years ago which stated a price of 25,000 Australian dollars. Let me know what you think would be a fair price for a Heron today, or what would you pay for a good one.
I would surely love to own a Heron Sport MJ1 and bedazzle the forks at European classic car meetings with this strange Lotus Esprit lookalike. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe if you haven't done already, and please let me know your thoughts about the Heron Sport MJ1 in the comments below. See you next time.